All right, guys. So I actually managed to see Transformers 1 early. Did I get like an early press screening pass or whatever that the cool kids get? No. My local movie theater actually had like an early fan screening where you could just buy tickets for it. And yeah, I was able to see it almost a week earlier. So that's cool. Um, and I will say, I kind of wish this had happened for a movie that I was more looking forward to, because I watched the trailer for this movie. You can find the reaction for it on my channel. I might even remember to put it in the description if I'm not a moron. But I watched that trailer and it just looked like the worst type of animated movie, just like the kind of animated movie that I hate, where it's like voice actors. Who cares? Let's get Chris Hemsworth and Keegan Michael Key to voice our characters. Let's have like the worst humor that ever known to man. Just like cringy jokes, no sincerity whatsoever, and it felt like an Illumination movie to me. Like it almost felt like the kind of animated movie that feels like it was made by AI. And I gotta say, I watched the movie and it is actually pretty solid. So this movie basically focuses on Optimus Prime and Megatron, and it's an origin story. It's actually kind of interesting. It feels like X-Men First Class in a way, where they start off and they're friends, and spoiler alert. Although I've since watched more trailers and they kind of explicitly tell you what happens, but like you do get to the point where they start to divide and become enemies and whatnot. And yeah, like X-Men First Class, they try to like organically build to it, and that honestly, that stuff was handled pretty well. Like, were there some moments where it's like, okay, these character turns are maybe a little exaggerated? Like, would they necessarily be going that far in this moment? Like, there were definitely some moments that were like that, but overall, it made sense, and like the character motivations made sense. So that is like the heartbeat of the story and of the movie, and it works. It actually works quite well. I will say, it's actually funny going back and watching the trailers. Most of the like the Illumination style humor and like the and like the he's right behind me, isn't he? That kind of humor. It's coming from Bumblebee, and yes, Bumblebee is by far the worst part about this movie. And actually, because like he's voiced by Keegan Michael Key, and unlike Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry, who voice Optimus Prime and Megatron, and they actually do a pretty solid job. Keegan Michael Key does not. He just is Keegan Michael Key the entire time. He does not give a fuck. And yeah, just like all of the worst jokes are just given to Bumblebee. Like this whole bit here, like I'll spoil this one hilarious joke where he's like, I have knife hands. Whoa, I can't believe I have knife hands. And it's just like, like yes, Bumblebee does suck, but he's really the only character that's like that. And at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. The other neat thing about this movie is that it takes place entirely on Cybertron, which I know is something that Transformers fans have been wanting. And they actually go into like Transformers lore and stuff like that I personally didn't know anything about. Cause like, growing up as a kid, I did watch like the first 3 or 4 Michael Bay Transformers movies. And it's like all the lore is just like delivered as like exposition dumps at the beginning of the movie, where like, Peter Cullen or whatever is like, a million years ago, Cybertron exploded or something, and the Allspark is somewhere, and we have to find the Allspark. And it's just like, as a kid, I'm like, I don't care about any of this. I don't know I don't know what's going on in this movie. There definitely are exposition dumps, but they're delivered within the context of a story, and it's more interesting, and it's, I'm already more invested in the story that we're currently telling. So like the lore of Cybertron and how things came to be is actually pretty cool in this film. The other thing that this movie does better than the Transformers live action Transformers movies is like the action. Like, you know, in the Michael Bay Transformers movies, while they are visually impressive, you can't deny that. As far as the CGI goes, just the choreography of all the action is awful. Like, you can barely tell what's going on. You can't tell like who's who. Like, I remember, at least me, like I watched like a lot of those action scenes, and I'm like, I don't even know who the bad guy or the good guy is. Like, what's going on here? In this movie, everything is clear and well choreographed. You can always tell what's going on, and some of it is genuinely pretty sick. And you know, the animation in general, it's at times like beautiful, although other times, like I would say, especially kind of like the faces and the way that the characters' mouths moves, it does feel a little, I don't know, not great. But for the most part, it's a pretty visually pretty movie. And yeah, I feel like if you're a Transformers fan, right? Because I'm not a hardcore Transformers fan. Like, I've never watched cartoons or anything like that. Only the Michael Bay movies. God rest my soul. But like watching this movie, I can just tell that, like, if you're a Transformers fan, man, there are a couple moments in this where you're gonna get chills. You're gonna be like, damn, I can't believe we're seeing this happen, in real time, and I this is gonna be maybe a bit of a stretch of as far as a comparison goes, but this does feel like the Into the Spider-Verse of Transformers. Like, don't get me wrong, this movie's not nearly as good as Into the Spider-Verse, but it's like the same way that like the live action Sony division where they were making like Venom and Morbius and Madam Web, and they, you know, they had their beakers and their test tubes, and they were like, how can we make the most god awful films of all time? And then like you have Sony like being like, okay, yeah, you guys make your little animated movie. Who cares? We're not going to get too involved in that. And you know, the animation division where they managed to create just like way better movies than like whatever the live action people were going on. It's like, this is so much better than whatever the fuck Michael Bay is doing, where Shia LaBeouf is running around carrying the Allspark or whatever. Like, this is just like, this is the Citizen Kane of fucking Transformers movies. And yeah, man, it's just solid. Like, I was very surprised, and again, no spoilers necessarily, but the way it ends, it leaves room for more. Like, it doesn't end with the Transformers being on Earth and Shia LaBeouf or whatever. Like, it ends where there is actually more story to tell on Cybertron, like before, you know, you get to the events of the original Transformers movies. So listen, Transformers fans, go out and watch this. Vote with your wallet, because I think that this is the movie that you want. So go out and watch it. Go support it. Go tell Paramount that this is what you want, and that you don't want fucking Shia LaBeouf or Mark Wahlberg or whatever the new guy's name is running around carrying the Allspark. Like, go watch this, because I think it's pretty cool, and I never thought I would say this. I want to see like Transformers 2 or whatever they call the sequel, where it's still on Cybertron and it's set up well for more story. So let me know, are you looking forward to watching the movie? Have you somehow, like I, gotten a chance to watch it a bit early? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.